So I just want to do an update on my printer and some things that I've changed on it and added to it. I have done about 1.5 rolls of filament through the machine now and got it going pretty good. Parts coming out 2 size, and designed that filament case which is sealed and has the tube going up to the top all the way. A few things that I did was make a cover for the screen. Just clips on using the SD card reader. Because of the brightness of the screen, only dims so far and it's still too bright. Another thing I did was make a holder for the touchscreen pen, because I just about lost it and threw it out one day. I have installed extra screws in the sides and down the back and down the bottom, because when I got the machine, when it heated up, these panels would bend out from the heat. That was on both sides and this piece, so I've got an extra bolt there. Bolts down that side as well. I've bolted the top on as well. There's 3D printed brackets inside here to hold these bolts. That's 3D printed bracket for the sensor, because that was flopping around and making ticking noises when it was retracting and hitting this piece of pipe. On the inside, I installed little brackets under this plate here, one on each side, because of the plate was bending, the plastic one, from the heat, and because there's no support under this whole front section. There's a support in this little corners, in the corners, 4 corners, but it sags in the middle, and they just bolt to this steel frame in here. Apart from that, I haven't really done much more, apart from adding some bolts and the covers in that. And when you get the machine, check your bolts as well, because I had a loose bolt under there and the bottom was sagging down, and a loose bolt on the back panel. Apart from that, it's going good. The only problem, well, it's not a problem, it's probably more settings, is the touch leveling. It's got a 31 point touch system, but it skips the first row, even though it can come all the way to the front of the board, print board. And it comes to here, does this corner, but then it skips all that front row and goes to the next row, so it's only doing 26, I think it is, points, which I still need to look into. And one other thing is when it comes all the way to this corner, it hits on here, this cable chain, hits on the door, and sometimes it'll pop the bottom of the door open or pop the whole door open, and it's actually putting a mark on the door from where the chain is hitting it. I think if the case was another 20mm longer, the whole machine was 20mm longer, it would not hit the door, and it would probably fix the a problem with missing those maybe. But I think that's more coding settings and stuff on the machine, which I need to look into. Highest print I have done is 240 mil so far, and this one was printed with the roller filament with the machine. So it came out quite nice. Nice and smooth and shiny. This one was printed of a different brand of filament. And it came out really smooth and shiny. Custom base. First layer comes out real nice. Just fingerprints. This was done in 5 pieces. Have done other prints and other little parts, like this was with the filament that came with the machine as well. So it's a linkage system. As well as printing all the brackets and stuff were inside that and the feet. And I originally had another bracket coming off here with the filament here before I'd made that, because you can't load the filament onto the machine if you've got this just about touching a wall, because the filament loaded from the back onto the spool holder. So I had it sticking out the side, which was easier to get to. But then I had problems with moisture getting into the roll of filament, so I put it in there. Wi-Fi. I had problems with the Wi-Fi when I first got the machine. It was either because my password was too long or the router that I was using had a problem with the machine. I just couldn't get it to work, so I ended up upgrading the modem and putting a shorter password, and it's working fine now, so I can print files without the SD card now, and don't need the computer running after you've sent the file, which is good. So you don't have to worry about your computer turning off or crashing or anything. Plus I don't have to deal with memory cards anymore, but I have got the option if I ever need to. The screen is fine. I have had no problems with the screen. It's nice and bright. Touch pen works on it real good. If you're going to have it in the same bedroom as you sleep in, you probably won't sleep because of the fans in it. Because there's 3 fans on the head of the printer. Two of them's pretty loud, but all of them going is real loud. Plus you've got the 120mm fan in the back, which I never have running. That's really loud. I may end up looking at replacing it with a more silent fan, but I've never used it anyway, so at the moment I've only done PLA. I want to look at doing some other materials at some stage. The bed is real nice. The removable bed. Flexible. Prints come off real easy. once the bed is removed or cooled down. Even with the machine just cooling down, the part will just pop off the bed. You don't have to take the bed off. It can be a bit of a mission to get lined back up. Okay. The bolts you can get from open builds, but you can't get this series 30 T-nuts. I ended up buying a pack off eBay. But the bolts, low profile bolts, you can get from open builds. Or McMaster Car, I've seen them on there. Don't know what the prices are like compared to open builds. But I've got a big stock of different size bolts. And this was another print I did, a robot wheel. This was one piece. Bearings pressed in. This is the original bracket off the machine for the filament, so it went that way around on the machine, and that would be up against the wall, so you couldn't load the filament on, so I ended up rotating it on the machine to that way so you could put the roll on, and then I ended up going to the case, so I've still got that if I need to use it or make something out of it. I will show you some of the brackets and images of the brackets inside here that I did after this little video. And it's got a pin holder there. There's the Wi-Fi aerial. They got their logo down in there. You got vents through there. There is a fan in here, as well as another fan underneath sucking air up into it. Don't know if you can see that mark on the door or not. There you can there. Yeah. Scratches on the door from the chain. Filter in the back, LED strip up the top there, plus I've got the moisture packs up in there in the corner. That's the main screen, so you got all your home positions, load from SD card, move the machine around, and there you can do it by different measurements. SD card, oh, that's showing the ones on the inbuilt memory, because there's no SD card at the moment. You can extrude and retract different speeds and lengths. Macro, all your different ones. LED lights is one I've added in, so I can turn the lights up to whatever colour I want or turn them off. Like if I'm wanting to sleep, I can turn them off and put the cover on the screen. Got your filament, which is loading and unloading, had a problem with unloading once, and a piece of filament got stuck in the extruder. The piece that was in the nozzle was too big to go through the hole in the extruder, so I ended up taking the extruder off the machine and taking it apart to get it out. So I don't use these anymore. I use the load options, but the unload I do manually. And unload it until there's about 20mm left before it goes through the extruder, and then I just cut that off, cut the blob off, and then put the tube back on, because I don't want to have to be taking the extruder apart again. Preheat options, Wi-Fi, there's a few other things in there. Turn your fan on and off at the back, BL touch, resume print. Haven't used that. Haven't used save, haven't used offset. Leveling. Turn those off at the moment. Print. Normally that comes up with a bar across there for your printing time and times. And it normally says printing up here. Console is just information and stuff. And setup. Haven't done anything on that screen apart from check the brightness. I turned it all the way up. That's about it on this screen. Where is it? Oh, you can't see it. The BL touch is just in here, behind here. So first off, the USB that comes with the machine includes those, a test file which I haven't printed. You got your profiles. There's my own one which is not included with the machine. So you've got instructions on how to install it for both softwares. LED lights is not included with the machine either. That's the extra menu that I put on the machine. It's the code that you type into the console to turn the lights off. And that is the one for typing in the G code if you want the lights to not come on. Manuals, pretty basic manuals, setting up the Wi-Fi, unboxing, and that I don't think is included. No, it's just a copy of their website I downloaded. The unboxing is pretty simple. Connecting the fan up, the wires and all that. Basic settings, loading filament, loading a file. Wi-Fi is pretty easy. Doing the Profiles is pretty easy as well. Tells you everything what to do. And files, these are ones I've designed. So this is the bottom of the side perspex, the bolt which goes into this frame rail, because there's nowhere to put a bolt into the side at the bottom. So I designed this bracket up, holds a nut inside there, and a short bolt. That bolt is a 12mm long, and these two here are 10mm as well. Yeah, 10mm with the T-nuts under there. Actually, they look longer. They look like 12mm. Yeah, they are 12mm. So I printed 4 of those. So there's 2 on each side at the bottom, and the low profile on here and here, because the home sensor has to pass through here quite close to it on one side of the machine. Screen cover just looks like that, angled, as well as this piece up here to hook into the card slot. Maybe you can do a design on the front, but I just left it blank. Pen holder. I'm actually using a Samsung Galaxy 10, I think it's a 10 pen on mine. I had a spare one. And this bracket is double-sided taped on using automotive tape, double-sided tape. Filament sensor bracket has got the sensor mounted on. I chucked the logo of the machine on there. Bolts on there, using the low profile bolts, and they are 20mm long. Those are M3 bolts, and they're 30mm long. Close that one. This is the bracket that I made on the machine to have the roll on the side of the machine, instead out the back where I couldn't load it without moving the whole machine. And these have got a bearing in them and a nut inside the knob. I'll go to, I had a couple of versions of it in here, so there's heaps of knob. Take the cover off, and there's the nut inside there. And 2 bolts through the standard mounting holes that were on the machine. And that bolt I never actually put in the machine because I only had this on there temporary. And the bolt just goes through the back there. That system worked really good, but I was having problems with humidity and moisture getting into the rolls. So I did away with that into a seal case, and it seems to have fixed the problem so far. These ones, this is the plastic around the heated bed, which was sagging at the front and back. So I did those brackets which the board sits onto. T-nuts in there. You do have to take the 4 screws out of each corner to lift this board up, as well as a little bracket at the back which holds the cable chain. Easy to do, and you just put these in and then put the panel back on. No screw going in through the board or anything, just sits on top. The may have picture of it actually. So there's the standard filament holder. As you can see, it's up against the wall. So when I needed to change it, I had to twist the whole machine on an angle to get it off. It's the setup, stock setup. As you can see, this moves when it retracts, and then it extrudes and taps on this hose, making a tapping noise all the time. Screws that you'll need to take out is one there, one there, one there, one there, and there's 2 up on this bracket which is in here, which is just sitting up against this chain so it doesn't go that way. If you take that bracket off and these screws, you can raise this up enough to get the little brackets in underneath. And that's when I was using the card reader when I had problems with the Wi-Fi. Had no problems with the machine apart from noticing that it was skipping a row of probe points on the bed level. And yeah, so that'll be the next thing I'll look into, see why it's skipping the row.